Monday Night Football game that was for the Giants. Oh, they look good. We scored a touchdown this week comparatively to last week.
Edwin left this on the table, so I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave him. I not throw him under the bus because that's the theme of this thing.
Not a magic marker. That'd be bad. Can I have a regular marker? Go ahead.
What's in a magic marker?
Isn't that permanent?
I think a permanent marker is a permanent
marker. Magic marker is exactly what you're looking for.
Sharpie is what you're thinking.
A magic marker is exactly what you're looking for.
A magic marker would not be so magical.
Thank you,
that's Ricky Strom, that's Francis Maxwell, I'm Jason Rubin. So the Giants lost to the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football 24-10, and there is a whole lot to break down about why. Well, for one, Matt Stafford seems to be proving he's worth his money, able to move the sticks and also score points, which is something that a mobile quarterback.
Didn't he have like under 200 yards?
He did, but he got the job.
Didn't he have under 150?
Here's the thing. He got the job done.
So he Alex Smithed his contract in this context.
By all means, this year Alex Smith doesn't look like Alex Smith. This year Alex Smith kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers. It's a stupid takeaway. I'm just making the point.
That was a freezing cold take, Jason Rubin.
Well, it was a take that Chris Collinsworth, I think, used on.
Oh, so you recycled the take.
I love Chris Collinsworth. Everything about that man.
Let me tell you about this guy. Dude. Really, when he football.
Check his. No,
he doesn't have to laugh at everything.
Chris Collinsworth is
Al. Football.
You're off a little because it's more like, man, Al, I just got to say that I am so thrilled to be here right now broadcasting football with you.
I didn't know Chris Collinsworth had a New York accent.
Well, I can't. I'm not doing his accent, just his actual like verbiage. Yours was, what was your accent?
It was making fun of the one thing he does maybe every 10 seconds.
He's just the happiest person on earth. Okay. Nobody's been happier. I strive to be that happy.
Wait. Both were pretty wrong. Pretty bad. At least I appreciate that you didn't try to do the accent.
Right. I was just
your accent
doing
wasn't
his verbiage.
Bad.
You don't even know who we're talking about.
Yes, I do.
Who?
He's on NBC Sports.
Wow.
He wears checkered suits now and again.
All right. As for the Giants, because who cares about the Lions winning the game? The Giants, first of all, in primetime, have never been necessarily a winning football team. And for the same reasons that football likes to put the Giants in primetime, the same reasons the Bears, the Packers, the Patriots. That's the big market. The Giants are also not great at home. They're one of the few teams who I think people should be always more afraid of them on the road, at least in the last 10, 15 years. They're better on the road than they are at home. In the case of what happened last night, and Francis will get on to why Ben McAdoo's a jackbag in Ben's term, Ben McAdoo is to blame for the Giants' loss in its entirety. There was a lot of other things that went wrong, but let's begin with the fact that the most predictable play calling ever since we hired Ben McAdoo, which is this, for whatever reason, need to establish the run with 3 running backs who are unable to establish the run. This was evident in the second quarter where we would run the ball on first and second down inside our own 20, inside our own 15, over and over again. Then the inability to adjust. What's not working is Eric Flowers, as you were mentioning to me over text, was getting absolutely bullied.
Horrible.
All night by a Detroit Lions pass rush that no one's been afraid of since the 1960s. So Eli Manning has no time. So a normal, good,
a Lions pass rush that no one's been afraid of? Is that what you said?
Since Ndamukong Suh.
I think you're being very disrespectful to the one Kyle Vanden Bosch.
I don't remember Kyle Vanden Bosch.
Okay, proceed.
Okay. Ndamukong Suh was a terror in the pass rush.
He was.
Yeah, so that's not, you're right, I'm not being fair to the Lions.
To Matt Schaub's groin.
To Matt Schaub's groin. And many others.
That's true.
To be, to the point of McAdoo, what good coaches do is they adjust. They see something that's going wrong, like, man, our quarterback can't get the ball out in under 3 seconds. He's not getting any kind of pass protection at all from the left side, from the strong side, from the middle, from anywhere. Pocket was closing, and Eli Manning even took a phantom sack, which was embarrassing by all accounts. But here's the thing, Eli Manning's done that so many times in embarrassing moments that you just add it to the list. No one really cares that he took a phantom sack. It wasn't a first time thing. Your magic marker is not so magical.
I know, I was gonna say that, I was actually thinking about
Edwin.
I was gonna use it as a prop as well, to describe why there's a problem.
As to why there's a problem with the Giants. So to wrap this up more quickly, you have to adjust to the fact that they know what you're calling because you're running it on 1st and 2nd down. And by the way, sometimes 3rd down. And then let's get into some of the clock management issues. With 1 minute and 5 seconds left, the Detroit Lions got into field goal range. It was 14-7. Matt Prater kicked a miraculous field goal that actually banked off the bottom post and somehow in, squeezing by. Either way, you make or miss that field goal, the Detroit Lions were allowed to run 37 more seconds off the clock. Instead, Ben McAdoo with 3 full timeouts, knowing he's get the ball back at halftime, something that I promise you Bill Belichick would never do is let the clock run out in this situation. Eli Manning is somebody.
What yard line were they on?
They would have been, if they took it over, it would have been like the 45-yard line. Even after the kickoff, it's still about the 25-yard line with 1 minute and 2 timeouts. And I don't know. Oh my God, it's not like we have weapons like Odell Beckham Jr. who played, or Brandon Marshall who dropped passes, or Sterling Shepard who's actually a good young wide receiver, or Evan Ingram who pulled in his first touchdown pass. It's not like we have the weapons that most teams would absolutely die for, that the Colts would die for, that the Ravens, if they had the Giants receiving core, would win the fucking Super Bowl this year and probably go 14-2 with that defense. So, Ben McAdoo keeps calling running plays after running plays, and he gave in, he throws in the towel. It's not just so much that Brandon Marshall couldn't catch passes, but the idea that Odell Beckham Jr. was healthy enough, and please do not give me the narrative, oh, he wasn't at full health. He hurdled a fucking linebacker in the 1st quarter. That's called fully healthy. Does he feel healthy? Maybe not. But if you're taking the risk of jumping over somebody, you're healthy enough to catch passes. Also look at his warm-up tapes. He's sprinting down the field and doing his stupid one-handed catches. That's healthy enough. So when you take Odell Beckham Jr. off the field, because you want to use him sparingly, there was a 90% chance they were going to call a run play, which makes them the most predictable team in the NFL. You leave Odell Beckham Jr. on the field and you use him as a decoy. You pretend to throw him a screen pass. You don't actually use him so he doesn't get chop blocked or hurt. You have him run 2 steps out and 2 steps out of bounds, because you're taking a defensive back out of the player, potentially luring a safety, which then in turn gives better matchups to Ingram, gives better matchups to Marshall, gives better matchups to Sterling Shepard. And even worse than that is the fact that even in the 3rd and 4th quarter, they're still trying to run flag routes, which take more than 3 seconds. Post routes, seam routes, that take more than 3 seconds for Eli to do, for Eli to throw to, because the offensive line kept collapsing. It's a wild thing that last year we kept doing dip and dunk. We had Shane Vereen over the middle for 3 yards. He tried to turn and get an extra 2 yards. It's a wild thing that we'd throw to Beckham on the slant routes. We'd find Sterling Shepard, who was a rookie still trying to adjust to the system, and find him over the middle for 3 or 4 yards. Instead, after all of this bullshit, Ben McAdoo thinks, oh wow, maybe Eli will take 4 or 5 seconds. And then what does Ben McAdoo blame it on after the game, Francis?
He blames it on his own team. He blames it on himself. Why is he distracted by the porn stash? Whose porn stash are we talking about?
His own.
Ben McAdoo's stash. Well, that's what I was actually going to do a description. This is much better than my description. But my idea.
Let's show the first one.
Show the first one.
Show the first one.
This is courtesy of Ricky Strom. With I cannot disagree. I can't disagree. But so this is what I think, right?
Yeah,
so here we have. This is the Giants, right? And I'm going to show you.
We're a big.
So it's just a circle, right?
Circle.
It's the Giants, right? And then this is the media.
It's more of a tomato.
This is the media, right?
Yeah.
So this is them firing their questions, right? Any normal team will just like, bam, bounce it off,
like
right? There you go, like whatever, like we'll just deflect away. There's no internal problems. We'll just keep going. The Giants allow the media to go in and just absolutely just destroy anything that they have. Look at that demonstration.
The X factor is it's the New York media.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
It is the worst media for any athlete or coach to be in.
So why do you let them to
So
infiltrate
why
you?
dangle a rare steak out for them being like sloppy quarterback play?
Yeah, McAdoo does exactly what they've done in the past, right? Which is like Eli Manning has thrown Odell Beckham Jr. under the bus. He's throwing nothing other than Odell Beckham Jr. under the bus. The organization themselves. I mean, it's funny enough because the only honest one is the douchebag owner. That's the funny thing. That Mara is actually honest when he comes out and goes, "Yeah, we're not signing him because it's the worst thing that could ever happen." When he talked about
we lose all of our season tickets.
So at least he's honest. But it seems like there is no. This is something I've noticed throughout the sport as well. Some teams have it together in regards to team chemistry. Like you'd never have Bill Belichick step up, or one of his offensive coordinators step up and place the blame on Tom Brady or place the blame on themselves so that the media can just have more of a field day. Because you're right, the New York sports media, I mean, they're hounds because of what they're dealt with, right? Because in front of them, they have a plethora of stories to choose from. The Knicks are a shambles, internal problems going on between them when it came to Phil Jackson, Carmelo Anthony. They gave them all of this, they basically just gave them full force stories to work with. So when you have that organization just mix it up amongst themselves, it just doesn't make any sense to me. What is wrong with saying, well, you know what, I got it wrong today, but we'll bounce back and we'll try to work better to see what we can do better, rather than the same what Eli Manning does. Odell Beckham Jr. is a problem there. I just don't get what's going on.
We all know this working in sports, allow me to interject, is that when teams win, it's fun. When they lose, the best kind of sports fodder, by far. Of course. So the New York media is salivating that Phil Jackson is out because now they could just pick on James Dolan. They could pick on anybody within the Knicks organization because they're not doing shit. They're having a field day with the Carmelo storyline. The Giants are terrible. They're having a field day with them being 0-2. The Jets completely suck. I know that they look better than the Giants. Not saying much right now. Who else? The Brooklyn Nets.
You got the Rangers and the Yankees.
So, the Rangers and the Yankees are saving New York right now, but there's so many other storylines where the New York media salivates. Getting back to this real quick, to your point about the Giants, you could talk about establishing the run, opening up the pass, getting Odell free, getting Brandon Marshall open, using your tight ends, what have you. The defense was once again left on the field, and they didn't even have their top corner in Janoris Jenkins.
I know.
They did not have Goodson, the linebacker, as well, who had looked really, really good last year. So when you look at an offense that is supposed to be better for the weapons that they have, for the wide receivers that they have, when you don't have an offensive line, a competent offensive line, and when you have an injury where Justin Pugh has to play at a position that he's not used to, and then you have Eric Flowers, who is alone on a fucking island against Ziggy Ansah, who had 3 sacks against him, that is bad coaching by Ben McAdoo. Not necessarily because the O-line is bad, but because you need to keep a tight end in, and you need to keep a running back in order to just help out Eric Flowers. Just a smidge to keep yourself in the game. And the funny thing was, at 24-10, I was like, this is about to be a ball game. This is about to be a ball game in the fourth quarter. But of course, they didn't score.
So in terms of the New York media in general, what's so funny about this is Bill Parcells, who is a legendary head coach in his own right, years and years and years ago, nobody was better at handling the media than Bill Parcells. You had these same type of thing, these lions that wanted every little scrap of information to turn into a headline, and Parcells would not give it to them. Who did Bill Parcells teach to handle the media?
Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick, correct. And who did Bill Belichick teach to handle the media?
Well, I mean, there's like a million names.
There's one specifically who's just burst out onto
the tree
scene.
is huge.
Nick Saban. Bill Belichick taught Nick Saban how to handle
the Browns,
media.
right?
Yes. Nobody taught Ben McAdoo how to handle the media, because Ben McAdoo and his play calling was getting bailed out slightly by
his pawn stash
and a certain quarterback that he had under the Green Bay Packers system until he came to the New York Giants. Aaron Rodgers. You need to adjust to what's in front of you. By blaming Eli Manning, and of course there's a really great headline out there that's Ben McAdoo, a straight shooter, just saying it what it is. You should throw your no, you shouldn't. Absolutely not.
The fact is, you shouldn't throw anybody under the bus to the media.
It causes disruption into the locker room. It's bad.
Ever. But hey, thank you for the fodder.
So the Giants are going to Philadelphia next week. I think that's the one win they'll have through 6 games.
Yeah,
because they play well in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is a good team.
I think they lose to Philadelphia.
I think Philadelphia, they play well in Philly. I think the Giants will win that game in the most Giants fashion possible because they won't show like they have.
Chipotle burrito.
For sure. After that, the Giants will lose to the Bucs bad. They will then lose to the Chargers, and then they will get exposed even worse against the Denver Broncos. They have a murderous schedule. If you actually watch Colin Cowherd's show, he's 100% right about the New York Giants. He said that's a team that is not making the playoffs. 7-9 is a good season for them, and there's a lot of problems to address. Is it time to find a new quarterback? It's time to start thinking about what's past Eli Manning. You have to.
They had it in Ryan Nassib.
Maybe not next year. I get it. You know, if you can get him protection, Eli will get you the ball downfield.
Anybody can.
Of course. So you got to start thinking like, okay, what are we doing in 2019, 2020, where we have Shepard? Engram has proven at this point through 2 games as a rookie tight end that he's effective.
The weapons are there.
But to wrap,
real quick to wrap up. Eli is a Jekyll and Hyde quarterback. He makes throws where you're like, why isn't this here so consistently because he makes throws that make him look like Peyton. And then there are other times where you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? How did he win 2 Super Bowls? He is a Jekyll and Hyde quarterback. But the fact is, if you have no offensive line, Tom Brady wouldn't succeed under that offensive line. Many times
would.
over.
No,
of course.
would.
So look,
well, I take that back. A mobile quarterback actually would be able to make it work. Like Stafford was showing exactly.
Like Colin Kaepernick.
Like Colin Kaepernick.
Okay, moving forward.
I'll take Cap.